Good evening and welcome to our podcast. So I'm Paul Brocklehurst. I'm the director of the Stammering Self-Empowerment Programme. I'm based in France at the moment. And tonight I'm going to be talking with Olga Bednarski, who is currently in Spain, but otherwise normally living in Liverpool in England. And the reason that we're having this conversation is because I've just finished reading Olga's book, The Anatomy of Stuttering, which I must say I thoroughly enjoyed. And having read it, I've been keen to talk about it with her and to discuss some of the contents and how the book came about and what Olga is currently involved with at the moment. So welcome, Olga.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm very happy to be here.
And so, yes, maybe we should start. Maybe, Olga, you could say a few words about yourself and your background.
Well, my name is Olga, and believe it or not, 13 years ago, I couldn't say my own name. So I was a severe stutterer. I was very shy. I was very self-conscious. I was full of insecurities. And I didn't have any formal therapy. I didn't have any speech therapy at all. But I just decided I need to do something about my speech because it was affecting my life so badly. And so I was full of fear, I was full of anxiety, but I decided to go to the Liverpool Speakers Club. This was the first place. And this is how my journey started, my journey towards freedom.
Okay, so how old were you when you started stuttering?
I started at the age of 13.
Okay. And before that, you've been speaking normally?
Yes, no problem at all. I was very sociable and very talkative. I had no speech anxiety, or I never held back in conversations. No.
And then something happened.
Yes, and then something happened. My school was a very stressful place, and expectations were very high. And I remember that I began to hold back. I began to have second thoughts, thinking to myself, shall I respond? Shall I raise my hand, or shall I stay quiet? And this is how it all kind of began for me. And then over the months, it got worse and worse and worse. And my teachers were also quite rude. There was no political correctness at the time. So they could say anything, to a student like, oh, you stupid, or sit down, shut up, and this kind of thing. So, and I started to be very sensitive. I was extra sensitive. And so I decided, okay, they don't want to hear from me. My opinion doesn't matter. So what if I just stay quiet and shut up? And that's what happened. And I started stuttering.
And when you say you started stuttering, you had this experience at some point in time. You started blocking, yeah?
I had silent blocks. I remember when I was asked to come up to the front of the class and read a poem, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would just completely freeze, and that was it.
Now, at this time, this was actually when you were, I know this from the book that I've just read, that you were living in Tallinn, yes, in Estonia.
Yes, I was living in Tallinn in Estonia.
Yeah. And so from that point on, you started practically.
Yes, it got worse.
It got worse.
It got worse over the years, and I have turned into a very shy teenager. I was very shy, unsociable. I lost my friends, except for two, and that was kind of my new lifestyle, and I felt very isolated and confused at the same time, because before I was very talkative, I had loads of friends, I never held back in conversations, and then suddenly, well, I started having this fear of speaking up, and I didn't know how to help myself, so it just got worse, worse, and worse, until I started having silent blocks, and that was it.
And so you said it, you've never had any speech therapy, but what happened? You moved actually to England, to Liverpool, and started working there and started learning English. And it was actually while you were in Liverpool that things started to change, yeah?
Yes, things started to change. Well, first of all, I found that when I spoke in English, I didn't stutter that much. I didn't stutter that much. It was much easier for me to speak in English than in Russian. And then after approximately 5 or 7 years, I decided to do something about it, because I was very fearful, and I was very anxious, and I struggled to find a good job that I wanted to do. So I had no option but to do something about it and change it. Yeah.
And you discovered Toastmasters, I believe.
It was Liverpool Speakers Club first, yes, but it's similar to Toastmasters. Yeah, that's where I went after reading a book on how to overcome your shyness, because I believe that I was shy. I never thought that I had a stutter. I just thought that I was very shy, and I didn't understand why. Because I did lots of things in my life that shy people simply don't do. And I was very confused. So I thought I was shy. If I was shy, I needed to go to that club where maybe I could overcome my shyness, by speaking up in front of people. And that's what I did. But then when I went and they asked me to introduce myself, of course, I blocked terribly on my first name. It was the worst to say my first name. And then two people came up to me after, and they said, listen, do you know that you actually have stuttering? Do you know that you stutter? I said, oh, really? Is this what it's called? And they referred me to this program, which taught me a specific way of breathing and speaking, which really helped to control my silent blocks.
Okay. Now, I seem to recall reading that somebody else at that Liverpool Speakers Club, there was somebody else who went there who did stutter also.
Yeah, there were a couple of people.
Yeah, so that was had quite an impact on you, I think, watching them get up there and speak. Yeah.
Yes, it was very inspiring. But at the same time, when I watched those people speak, I felt kind of uncomfortable inside. But I thought they were very brave. They were like super role models for me. And yeah, they really helped me to start this journey, because I didn't know where to go. I have never done any research. I didn't really know where to look for help. So they helped me they directed me, to the right place. And this is how it all began for me.
And then so you went then to the Maguire program.
Yes, I went to the Maguire program.
Right. And that I just know from my own experiences of people who've been through Maguire that one of the things that one has to do there is introduce oneself to loads of people and lots of talking. And when I hear about it all, it fills me with fear, that sort of idea. But But you did all of that, yeah?
Yes, I did all of that. I had really, I guess I had no option. I just decided to sign up and go for it because I was so desperate. So, and yes, I remember on the first night, I had to introduce myself in front of maybe 100 people in the audience, which was an absolute hell. I was so terrified, but I did it. I mean, I'm still here, so yes. And then it all kind of in this 4 days on the program, everything's changed, for me. I spoke to so many people in just 4 days. I don't think I spoke to that many in my whole life. I was only 25 or 26 at the time. So I was, yeah, it was like, whoa.
Yes.
It was a blowing, but yeah, and it helped me to control my silent blocks because they were really bad.
Yes. And then I should add all of this is in the books that you've written, and this is where I know that you've been through this. You found, though, after a certain period of time, having done the McGuire program, that it could only get you so far, and that you were not speaking freely or easily.
No, well, it helped me to control my blocks for sure. This was like the first step. But then I realized that I was still me. I was still very shy and fearful and anxious. And my speech sounded very unnatural. So I still felt this kind of, self-consciousness. Yeah,
Self-consciousness.
self-consciousness. I was very self-conscious still, and I was afraid of opening up and expressing myself the way I really wanted to. So I thought, okay, I can control my stuttering, but I feel there's something else there. So it's not just about speech, it's about something else. So I started to exploring and and getting into the depths of it. And then I discovered, well, everything was related to my emotions, to my emotional state, and how I felt at the time of speech. So this is how it all began for me. And I started to see changes. Like now I can be more expressive and not holding back anymore. And this was a game changer for me. So I kind of went beyond stuttering, beyond holding back.
So, in a way, would you say that you started to see the stuttering as just a part of a sort of wider combination of things that maybe you might call something like social anxiety or something like that?
Yeah, I thought there was it. I thought speech anxiety has lots of links to social anxiety. Speech anxiety is an emotional problem. That's what I found. So I started working with my emotional state and my mindset as well. So my thoughts, I had to change my thought patterns. And it really helped me to become, much more expressive and open and confident. And, being able to do stuff like this, for example, interviews. And so it really changed everything for me.
So one of the things that came over very strongly in your book was that you started to become aware at some point that stuttering was not really a speech problem. That in fact there were things behind all of that were causing that, and you pinpointed in particular that there was a constellation of false beliefs that people who tend to have assimilated at some point of time. and that it's actually a problem, more of a cognitive problem, really, that once you've got these false beliefs, it undermines your confidence, and it causes all sorts of problems, including the stuttering blocks and everything that flows from that.
Yes, stuttering affects more than just speech. It affects your life on so many levels. Because the essence of stuttering is holding back, and holding back can be it can affect any area of life. So it can be personal relationships, it can be your career, anything really. So holding back, this is the essence of it, because there is something you suppress, there is something you are not willing to show, to reveal to people, to the world, and to yourself as well. So it's important to, to recognize that and become honest with yourself, first of all, with yourself. And it's not easy, but it can be done.
Would you say that this holding back that you speak of, that it's maybe rooted in early experiences in your life where actually holding back has protected you in a way?
Yes, sure. That's for sure. It was a defense mechanism, basically. My holding back was a defense mechanism because of the place where I grew up. It was not such a good idea to speak up and express your opinion because you could be punished for it. So it was best to just keep quiet, and don't stick out too much. Don't be too visible. So it was a defense mechanism. But then it started to affect my adulthood. Yeah.
Okay. Now, something that also comes out very strongly in your book is that actually you've got a very broad understanding and knowledge of psychology, in particular cognitive psychology. And many of the things that you write about are perspectives that one finds within forms of therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, it's not entirely clear from the book, though. Did you actually went and did a master's in psychology, didn't you?
Yes, I have a degree in psychology. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that helpful to you?
Extremely, extremely. I wanted to understand how the minds work, and I wanted to understand how my mind worked, and it was definitely very helpful. And the funny thing is that first I kind of understood all these concepts, and then I got my degree. So my degree came second. First came the understanding of it all. Yeah.
So in a way, you'd already worked it out for yourself, but then when you went to university, that confirmed
It just confirmed everything that all my ideas and my theories were confirmed.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. And so your speech started to change again. So you'd made a certain amount of progress with the Maguire technique, and then you started looking at deeper things, and that you discovered about the issue of holding back, and you talk a lot about something called safety behaviors, which that's a term from cognitive psychology and from CBT. Maybe could you say a little bit about those?
Safety behaviors.
Yes.
Well, holding back is one of the main safety behaviors. If you hold back, if you don't speak up, then you will not get punished. Basically, that's the link. So holding back is one of the biggest safety behavior there is. Other safety behaviors, well, for example, people when people who start to speak, they tend to look down sometimes, or they avoid speaking altogether. This is also safety behaviors. Or another safety behavior can be, for instance, when they ask somebody to call for them, to make a call for them. So all sorts of tricks and tools that people use, to avoid the danger, as it were, to avoid the danger. Yeah, but the main one is holding back. So basically not speaking when you want to.
Yes, yes. And of course, the problem with them is that in the short term, they work.
In the short term, they work, but yeah, if you want to live a happy life and fulfilled life, then you would need to find a way to eliminate those, or at least to reduce them, for sure.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just not comfortable to live. It's very hard to live.
Yes. And so finally, the point came where that social anxiety started to dissipate. And
Yes.
another thing that comes out in your book very strongly is that change in you that happened. It came about at the same time, I think, as a sort of change in your own self-image of yourself.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, because before I did the Maguire program and I had a very good control over my blocks, but I just felt so unnatural. Like I couldn't really be myself. I couldn't be authentic self. I was afraid to show myself, to open myself up. And then suddenly, after about a year, I came to my speaking club again, and I just became like a show woman. They were absolutely blown away. They were like, "What happened to Olga? Who is this new Olga?" I was so expressive, and I was really like there was no shadow of holding back at all. I was also very relaxed as I spoke. So yeah, there was no holding back. I was electric, electric when I presented, and they were really shocked. But I guess I just kind of, at some point in my life, I gave myself permission to speak up and just be myself. That's okay. That's me. That's who I am. And there you go. You can take it or leave it, but this is me.
Okay.
So this was the attitude now. This was my new attitude, and I just decided to go with it.
Right. There was one point in the book where you mentioned clowning classes. I
Oh,
think you
yes.
go to them, yeah?
I
Tell
did
me.
clowning classes.
Yes.
I did
And
I did clowning class. It helps to loosen up, because people tend to be so perfectionist. We want to be perfect. We are afraid to look funny, to look silly. And here, when you come to a clowning class, everyone is a clown. So you can be foolish, you can be silly, and that's absolutely fine. No judgment. You can just let go, loosen up, and just flow with it. Anything that comes up, any movement that you like to do, or any sound even, you just go ahead and do it.
so what motivated you to actually join up and do that? Because that was quite a step.
Because I sensed one of the biggest part of holding back or speech anxiety is that people are too serious, too rigid. They want
Yes.
to be perfect. They want to be rigid. And when you're rigid and perfect, you experience lots of stress. And when you experience stress, it's not fun. There is no fun. And another thing, there is lots of control. When you want to be perfect, you have to be extremely controlling of yourself. Lots of control. And I had this problem. I was a control freak. So I wanted to let go of that and just loosen up, let myself be me, more me. That's what I wanted to see. And you know, they recommended me, okay, maybe you can try a clowning, like a clowning performance of some kind. So I decided, okay, what do you have to lose? Let's go. Let's do it. So that's how I ended up in it was a French clowning teacher of some kind that came to Liverpool. So he was from
Okay.
France, and yeah, and it was great, and really it helped me to understand lots of things. For instance, it's okay to be funny, it's okay to be foolish, and it's okay not to be perfect. That
Yes.
really helped me.
So through clowning, that helped you to let go of a lot of this control and
Oh
the
yeah.
rigidity, and then this thing that you call your authentic self was able to come out. Yeah.
More and more so, yes. I
I mean,
stopped being afraid. I
yes.
stopped being afraid of, not being perfect, because for me, this was a big deal. I wanted to be perfect, but as I tried to be perfect, I kind of lost connection with myself. I became too rigid, which didn't look very, good or natural. It wasn't me. It was somebody else. So clowning helped me to really to lose this rigidity and this idea that I have to be perfect, whatever that means. And yeah.
Yes, there's quite a few points in your book where you talk about perfectionism and the problem of perfectionism. And I think there's one point where you say perfectionists try to be perfect in doing things that already are perfect.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Perfectionist, well, these are people that have lots of shame.
mm,
They are afraid to experience shame. And that's why they have this preoccupation with trying to make perfect things even more perfect than they are. It's kind of like an obsession. I was the worst perfectionist. I wasn't that much afraid of opinions of other people. I was terrified of my own opinion. If I made a little slip, I would eat myself alive. If I was to make a little slip, oh my God, I would be horrible to myself. That's the worst perfectionist. Yeah.
so something else that comes out of that is um, the problem of making value judgments
Oh
about
yeah.
things.
Yes.
And I guess that especially in relation to emotions, one thing I think I remember reading in the book also is that you were saying that one has to be able to express all emotions,
Yeah.
and that they're all in their own way, they're all valid. It's not that there are some that are okay to express and others are not okay to express. Um,
Yeah, there are no good or bad emotions. They are just our feelings.
yes, yes. So would you say that a part of the process of overcoming the stuttering problem, let's say, involves going beyond this tendency to make negative value judgments about certain aspects of our behavior and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's about embracing, the whole of you.
Yes.
Because people who stutter, there is lots of judgment and there's lots of perfection. And actually, a good question to ask, where all these judgments come from? Because most of them, they are not even coming from us. They're coming from our environment
From
and
the
the people,
society.
that raised us. And so, like,
Yes.
what is good and what is bad, really? Like, if you think about it, it's a big question always.
So
So
that
I have,
feeds into the false beliefs that
yeah,
lie behind. Yeah.
Lots of false
The whole
beliefs.
lack of stuttering. Yes, yes, right.
Lots of false beliefs that I had to identify and then replace. Identify and then replace. That's the way I do it. Because if you don't know that you do something, then you can't change it. But once you see what you're doing or what you're thinking that is not working, for you, then you can make a choice to change it and replace it. And this is the first step. If you don't know what you do or what you think, then there is no way, there's no way there is no way to control it. But once you see everything, then you have a choice to say, okay, let's change it, then let's do something else.
So one thing also you mentioned quite a few times in your book is that you also carried out some research. I think it was questionnaire based, but I'm not sure. Maybe it was interviews.
It was interviews,
With other people
observations,
who stutter. Yes.
observations and questionnaires.
Right. And I'm guessing that the responses that you got from all of these people was also quite a formative experience for you, because up until that point you only really knew about your own stuttering, yes, but then
Yeah.
with this getting a broader picture of how it is for other people who stutter and the commonalities between
Yes.
all of us. Yeah.
I just wanted to find out, was it just my idea? Because I know some people ask me, oh, maybe you found like your way that helped you only. Maybe it's just, maybe this only helps you. But actually, what I found is that, there are so many common things that people who start to share. And yeah, so I found lots of confirmation of my ideas and my theories in, during my research. So it was really helpful and wow.
So was there a point of time where you decided that you were ready or that it was the right time to start helping others who stutter?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because at the start of it all, I only wanted to help myself. I didn't care for anybody else. But then people started coming to me and asking, what you do is very interesting. How did you manage to overcome your severe stuttering so well? Can you teach us? So they started coming and asking me to do it. So this is how it all began. But initially, I only cared about myself and my recovery. I would never guess that I would turn it into a profession of any kind.
Okay, okay. And so you started to give coaching to people who stutter. And of course, also you wrote your book, which in itself is there's an autobiography in there, but it's also a sort of self-help book as well, isn't it? Because I think reading through that book, there's virtually everything you need to know in there, really.
Sure.
Although actually putting into practice maybe is a slightly different thing, and one maybe would need some more input for that. But the basic knowledge, the basic ideas are all in there, and so then you've more recently become a bit more formalized with the coaching that you're giving, and I've been noticing that you've started providing a course that people can do.
Online course, yes.
Again, you call the Anatomy of Stuttering, yeah?
This course is like an online coaching program where you can ask me any questions if you like, or if you struggle, there is plenty of support. So, but it's kind of like an independent program that people do on their own. But if they do need support, they can just reach out to me, and I always help, always answer the questions. which people actually do ask me a lot.
Okay.
Because overcoming stuttering, it's like you need a guide. You need a guide. You need an expertise of someone who has already done it. That's what my students say to me as well. They say, yeah, I understand your book. Everything is understandable. Everything is clear, but I really need a guide. So I need your guidance. So they ask me questions.
Yes, yeah. One thing you say in your book also is that an essential prerequisite is that people need to have the faith that they can overcome it, or they can overcome the problem, basically.
Yes, it's important because your belief is it will determine whether you do overcome it or not, because we always get what we believe in. So if you believe you have a disease and there is no way out, then it will be confirmed to you. It will definitely be confirmed. But if you have, belief that yes, I can do it, it's not a disease, and you see so many people that have already done it, then there is no way you cannot do it as well. But I have to say that overcoming stuttering, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight because I don't provide magic pills. It's a process, but if you are dedicated and if you do experiment, if you do put in the work, it shouldn't take more than maybe 12, 18 months. But you have to be very dedicated. You have to work hard on it, as it were. And you have to be willing to experiment. Experiment is everything. If you don't do it, then nothing happens.
Now, a question, and this is a question that comes up in stuttering groups time and again. What does it really mean, or how would you define overcoming stuttering?
That's a good question. To me, person is free from stuttering when you have no preoccupation with speech or anything related to speaking at all. So you don't rehearse, you don't think about speaking, you just if you need to speak, you just dial the number and you make that phone call. Or if you need to ask a question in a shop or anywhere else, you don't have any preoccupations. You don't have any anxiety. There is no fear. If this is when you reach this stage when there is no fear related to speech or speaking process, then you are basically free. You are off the hook. That's it. And also a little word about perfection. I know that some people, they want their speech to be immaculate, absolutely perfect. And I would just like to say this is not possible. So don't aim for perfection. Aim for eliminating your stress, your anxiety, and any thoughts, any preoccupations related to speaking. So that's
would it
when
be
you are
accurate?
free.
Yeah. So would it therefore be accurate to say that from your perspective that I mean, if one was to use that iceberg analogy of stuttering, it would involve really you've cleared away all of the stuff underneath the water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and
If
that
you
may mean that yes. So there may still be some imperfections as such in your speech, but they would be very minor and not a problem.
Very minor, and if there is no fear, there is no problem, because even if you look at fluent speakers that never stuttered, they do sometimes stumble, and that's absolutely fine. They think nothing of it. They just move on. So it's the same attitude here. Natural speech isn't perfect. It isn't perfect. So don't aim for perfection. It's go with it. There is no such thing as perfection.
So going on from there, one thing that you've also written about quite a bit, actually, there's quite a few times in the book where you mention this. You feel that mainstream speech therapy has sort of got itself trapped in a bit of a dead end, where there's a prevailing view that stuttering is caused by neurological problems, some sort of underlying neurological faults, which means that it's, for some people at least, it may not be possible to get to that point of overcoming stuttering. And you see that as actually holding people back who hold that belief, yeah?
Yes. Well, I guess it's a choice. It's a choice. For some, it's easier to believe that they have neurological problem. I mean, like, the way I look at it, it's a choice. What do you choose to believe? This is what you get in the end. Once again, we coming back to the idea of belief. What do you choose to believe? That's what you end up having. And for some people, that can be quite comfortable. Okay, I have this disease. That's it. There's nothing I can do. I'm off the hook. Leave me alone, kind of attitude. So yes, this can be convenient, but not for people like me, because I know that stuttering is it's a learned behavior. It's an emotional problem. And if you have learned this, then you can unlearn it if only you choose to do so. This is to do with personal choice. If you choose to overcome it, if you choose to unlearn it, if you choose to understand how it works, then you can liberate yourself. But if you choose to believe that I have this neurological disease, then okay, that's your choice, and I respect that as well. So, but there is a way out, but it will take some work to do, of course. It's not, there are no magic pills for stuttering, but there is a way out.
Yes. Right. Okay, and just finally, just one last thing that I'd like to ask you about, and this is the wider journey. I mean, if one was to see overcoming stuttering as a part of a journey, it's a part of a wider journey that involves more than just overcoming stuttering. Maybe getting to know yourself and discovering deeper things. Would you like to say something about that?
Yes, what I have discovered quite recently is that stuttering is quite, well, actually, it's a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual disconnection. It happens when we learn to suppress our emotions. This is when we become disconnected. And the other problem with suppression of emotions is that we don't grow emotionally. We fail to become emotionally mature. It stops. So emotions help you grow emotionally. And if you suppress, then you don't really grow. You grow physically, but emotionally you're still a child. And all this, perfectionism and all this stuff actually comes from people staying children. They're still children. That's why, they need to ask permission, from adults. Can I speak up? Can I be myself, please? This is a child thing. So But once you reconnect with yourself, once you give yourself permission to feel everything that you need to feel, you grow very fast, emotional growth, and then you become fully adult. And then kind of life becomes easy because, well, you're an adult now. You can do whatever you choose to do. You don't need to ask permission anymore. You don't need to be perfect because you decide what it means to be perfect now, nobody else. So you become independent of all this opinions of other people and stuff like this. This just doesn't matter anymore because you are the one who judges yourself. Nothing else matters. Well, because you are an adult and you are in charge now. You don't have to ask permission. And this is a beautiful thing about being able to grow up emotionally, not just physically. It gives you freedom to be yourself. You don't need to ask permission. So, yeah.
So would it be possible in some ways that the experience of stuttering in itself can be a useful learning experience as a part of that wider journey?
Sure, absolutely. People often think, oh, why was I given this problem? Like, for what sins? Maybe I was given this. But the question I ask is, for what you have been given it? For what? Not because, like you did something bad in the past, maybe, but for what? And I have discovered that I was given this to learn, to learn about myself more and to understand how to become a human in the end. So it's about this problem can teach us quite a lot about ourselves, about people, and about the world. So don't relate to it as a curse. It's a lesson.
Yeah.
It's a lesson,
Yes.
not a curse. So think about
Yes.
it in a different way, a different perspective. And then you will discover that, well, actually, it's a journey and you can learn a lot about yourself, about the world, and about people. And once you reconnect, then life, just changes in so many ways. And you see how beautiful it can actually be. And how much fun when you feel, not suppress, but when you can feel and express, not repress. So it's a completely different life experience from then. Yes.
So there's nothing to regret having lived through
No,
stuttering.
I don't regret anything. It was an easy journey for sure, especially when I was younger. And I had no support, no advice. Pretty much I was on my own. But I mean, I'm grateful. I have learned so much more than I expected. There is so much more to discover still. So no regrets, just going ahead and learning every single day. Yeah, it's not a curse. It's a blessing for me now because I have learned so much.
Yes, yes. Good. Well, with that, maybe I think it's a good moment to stop talking.
Okay.
Apart from one thing, just you may like to just let us know. As far as I understand, people can still sign up to your Anatomy of Stuttering course.
Yes, they can. All you need to do is to go on my website, stopmystuts.com, or just email me.